A very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I'm Chiamaka Ohaochi. We'll begin with the emphatic clarification coming from the seat of government. Oh well, that came on Tuesday the 11th of August with regards to stamp duties. And it came in the form of a tweet and goes thus. The Federal Inland Revenue Service is the competent tax authority to administer, assess, collect and account for stamp duties in Nigeria. Short and precise if you ask me, and as can be expected, it did generate numerous reactions from members of the public. Plus, of course, it puts paid to the argument. Earlier in the day, on that same day, Tuesday the 11th of August, the House of Representatives Committee on Finance had held a fence mending session between the FRS and 9 posts, children of the same father and mother. That story will come to you in a subsequent episode of the program. Yes, you guessed right. The topic of the day is still stamp duties. We can't stop talking about stamp duties just yet. You'll recall that in the last 4-5 episodes, we have been trying our best on this program to educate and enlighten our viewers on stamp duties. To gauge the level of public awareness on stamp duties, we went to town on the streets of Abuja and Lagos. Do you know anything about stamp duty?
I think I know little because I have paid stamp duty before during registration of our company, and also when we registered another company we had to pay stamp duty again. So that is what I know about it. I know is you pay it when you want to do registration that relates with FRX, and if you want to maybe do document processing, that is what you pay. It is necessary. Sometimes ago, the payment was manual, but now it is done online. For instance, when I did payment for registration, CAC portal, there is an automatic uploading of the stamp duty fee, which I was expected to pay. And then I made a mistake. I paid 500. Then later I went to the office and they now did the summing and said I was supposed to pay 8,000 naira. So it depends on how much you put into it that the system will generate and give you what you are expected to pay. So it's online, it's working online.
Why do you think it is necessary or it is required to pay stamp duty on or any document at all?
You know, the government is devising different methods, to raise money.
Ma, what do you know about stamp duty?
I've been hearing it for a while that they debit for some banks, if not all banks, debit for some while. But I don't really know why they debit from various banks. I don't really know the reasons. So maybe if you make transactions, or you withdraw from your money, they'll debit you 15 naira. Some banks debit 100 naira. Depends on the bank you are using. So, but really, I don't know the reason why they debit for stamp duty.
Do you think it is necessary, it is required to pay stamp duties or even on documents?
I don't think it's really necessary. So they should explain to us better why they debit for stamp duty.
What do you know about stamp duty?
Stamp duty is a type of one of those taxes that you pay on a certain document and whatsoever.
Have you ever had any cost to pay for stamp duty or on any documents? Have you paid stamp duty on?
Yeah, I know several times. So many years I've been paying stamp duty on documents.
What kind of documents have you paid stamp duty on?
Yes, I paid stamp duty on property, and it does some documents too that is related to houses and all those things. Because any document that is legible that you can tender in future for court, so you have to stamp them to make it legal for tenders before the court of law. Because before you tender those things, if you want to make your document to be legally accepted before the court, definitely you have to stamp duty it, especially important documents.
Different strokes, they say, for different folks. But if you ask us, we are making progress. One thing though, it does seem that a huge chunk of the population still believes that all that there is to stamp duties is the 50 naira on bank transfers above 10,000 naira. Let us reiterate that it goes beyond that. There are more than 50 documents and instruments that attract stamp duties, and we have been sharing them with you on this program. Let us take more. Debentures attract an ad valorem rate of 0.375% for the original copy, while the extra copy attracts 50 naira. Deed of assignment, the twin brother of C of O, also attracts an ad valorem rate, this time of 1.5%. Same goes for deed of gift, while deed of release and surrender, as well as deed of discharge, attract ad valorem rate of 0.075%. Deed of conveyance, the precursor to C of O or transfer on sale of property, attracts again an ad valorem rate of 1.5%, while discharge or release is 0.075%. We end today on a free note. Documents from ministries and parastatals, when accompanied by letters from the legal advisor of the supervising ministry, is free. FOC. To further deepen public awareness on matters relating to stamp duties, we have gone for a big fish, the #1 taxman in Nigeria. Mr. Muhammad Maman Nami is the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Chairman, Joint Tax Board, and Chairman, African Tax Administration Forum, ATAF.
Executive Chairman, welcome to Tax Matters.
Thank you for having me.
We have noticed the passion with which you have pursued the matter of stamp duties. In fact, you have expressed the intention to make stamp duties, and by extension tax revenue in general, the next black gold, that is to replace oil as Nigeria's major revenue earner. Why is this so?
Thank you for that question. You know, the belief or the approach has a foundation. Before now, Nigerians have the general belief that the country is a very rich country. They have that false belief that the government at all levels have got enough money to take care of whatever they need as citizens. Little did they know that that oil revenue, or that which they think is there, is actually not there. So when I came on board, I reviewed the target set for the service vis-a-vis the opportunities available, and realized that that target can only be achieved, or we can only do something extraordinary and possibly to surpass it if we do something differently. And what did we resolve we should do? We should pursue indirect tax. Indirect tax such as stamp duty, such as value-added tax, and I-24 Interpol revenues that ordinarily are curable to Nigeria, but Nigerian and Nigerian tax administration or administrators have not been collecting them. Why did we decide to do that? The economy or the entities that are in business are already suffering. There is this current effect of COVID-19. So we decided to shift our attention, therefore, from the direct tax that the administrators have been focusing their interest or attention on to the indirect system. Why do we have to do that? It's easier to collect, difficult to evade, and in terms of administration, it gives you more revenue without the taxpayers even know that they are paying.
Still on that note of curiosity, sir, the Principal Stamp Duties Act was enacted in 1939, 80 years ago, in fact 81 years ago. Why did it take so long to decide to give stamp duties its rightful place among the major revenue earners?
Well, a point of correction, I think Stamp Duty Act was not the one, it didn't come on board in 1939. It actually came on board in 1923.
Wow.
And the 1939 Stamp Duty Act was one that repealed that of 1923. Having said that, that same 1939 Act was at different times in 1942, 1945, 1947, and 1953 amended. And this amendment, which we're talking about, was centered at the 1939, which repealed that of 1923 Stamp Duty Act. They were all consolidated at the end of the day in 2004 and called Stamp Duty Act 2004. The attention in actual sense, as a second point of correction, is not being paid to stamp duty for the first time in Nigeria. We have stamp duty commissioners in all 36 states in Nigeria, including FCT. And these stamp duty commissioners, as a result of our collaboration, have been before now, we are housed or being given office to operate in all the corporate affairs commissions wherever they are available in all part of this country. In Lagos, for instance, in addition to the office of CSA office, we have another stamp duty commissioner in Lagos Mainland West and Lagos Mainland East, bringing the total number of stamp duty commissioners in Lagos State to 3. As a result of this, I think we should have as much as 38 stamp duty commissioners in this country. That is the second point of correction. The third one was the opening statement that I have made. They believe that yes, we're a rich country. Number two, they believe that nobody should do anything. The oil revenue is there to take care of our needs. And number three, consistently and on a yearly basis, government continue to incur deficit in terms of budgetary implementation. What do I mean by that? You have projected to spend, for instance, 10 trillion naira in a year. And from all sources of revenue you are able to generate only probably 7 trillion naira. The remaining 3 trillion you go to borrow locally or internationally. So we feel doing something differently, we will be able to assist government in addressing this issue of budgetary deficit that it continue to borrow money to fund.
Mr. Chairman, sir, on the 30th of June 2020, the Interministerial Committee on Audit and Recovery of Back-Year Stamp Duty was inaugurated by the federal government. Why was it considered necessary to set up such a committee?
Thank you so much. I think the fourth point that I forgot to make is the one that you have reminded me to answer here. Indirect tax is usually a tax that is administered through agents. The agent could be an individual, the agent could be a body corporate, or that agent could be a parastatal of government, maybe ministry, department, and agency. The role of an agent in any business is to ensure that when you collect revenue on behalf of your principal, you remit it as and when due. But in the case of stamp duty and other indirect taxes in Nigeria, you realize that the indirect taxes that most taxpayers who are FRS or Internal Revenue Service agents are collected but not remitted. So what we decided to do as a government was to meet and take a decision to establish this to launch this inter-ministerial audit committee, so that the monies that were collected and not remitted on behalf of the federal, inland, and other tax authorities in Nigeria by a tax agent should be audited, reconciled, and recover and remitted to the coffers of the respective internal or federal inland revenue account. So that is the intention of that. Who are the agents we are talking about? The agents include the ministry department agencies, who at a point was given circular in 2015 to ensure that for every contract that they are executing between them and their contractor, 1% subduty should either be prepaid or collected at the point of payment to the contractors. So the government wants to know how much of that money has been collected and how much of it was not collected. And if it has been collected, how much of it has been remitted. If not fully remitted, we'll recover the amount in the hand of the ministries, department, and agencies. The second agent that our attention is going to be focused on, or that the attention is being focused on, is the money deposit bank or the financial institutions. They have a circular that they received on the 15th of January 2016 from the Central Bank of Nigeria, directing them to charge 15 naira on every transaction involving transfer between customers of their banks. So we realized that those monies were not being remitted as and when due. What informed that decision also was what I said to Nigerians recently in my interaction with the National Assembly. As at the time we came on board, from ministry, department, and agencies, money deposit banks, and other body corporate, the total remittance into the Federation account as stamp duty on a weekly basis stood at only 78 million. But as I'm talking to you today, as at the time we were launching that committee, as a result of the things we have done differently, we have been getting as much as 2 to 3 billion on a weekly basis as a remittance into the federal coffers as a result of this attention that we're paying to the stamp duty collection.
This kind of nonsense has to end today. Why would the bank be removing somebody's money every time like that?
Mr. John!
My neighbor!
Yes, sir. Why are you rushing to like this?
Can you imagine? I just sent money to my son, and I got a debit alert of 15 naira from my bank as stamp duty. I am going to seek explanation from my bank because I made a transfer, not post a letter.
Mr. John, let me explain what stamp duty is. Stamp duty is not all about postage stamp matters. The 15 naira is a stamp duty levy charged by banks on customers who make transfers of 10,000 naira and above from one bank account to another bank account.
And why should I pay stamp duty for my hard-earned money?
Mr. John, paying stamp duty levy is a civic duty for every patriotic citizen. The taxes we all pay are collected and used by the government to pay salaries and provide basic amenities for citizens. It's even easier to make stamp duty payments now. All you need to do as a taxpayer is to log on to the following: www.stampduty.gov.ng or www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-stamping. By the way, Mr. John, it pays to pay your tax, you know.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you, my daughter.
You're welcome,
My
sir.
regards to your family.
All right, sir.
This broadcast is powered by FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
You are still on to tax matters, and what we are discussing today is stamp duties. And we have with us the number one taxman in Nigeria, the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Chairman, Joint Tax Board of Nigeria, and Chairman, African Tax Administration Forum, Mr. Muhammad Nami. Chairman, welcome once again.
Thank you.
We know there are two levels of jurisdiction for stamp duty collection, the federal and the state. state when the stamp duties, the instruments involved are between individuals, between two individuals. Now, the chargeable rates, are they uniform? Are they the same across the two jurisdictions?
Thank you. Stamp Duty Act is a federal legislation. So stamp duty, like I told you before, from 1939 to date, the rates remain unchanged and they are uniform between what is obtainable at federal as well as at state level. If, for instance, we pick the issue of rent on properties, which I believe Nigerians didn't want to hear, which I believe the publication error assisted us in creating awareness in Nigeria, because I am so confident that if the publication error had not happened, nobody would discuss stamp duty in Nigeria. Because prior to that, we have done about 3-4 publications, including hosting all the 4-5 major television networks in Nigeria live for 2 hours. Nobody cared. But since that error, publication error came on board, we have every cause to celebrate today, because everybody now knows that stamp duty will be collected in Nigeria. So the rates at federal government, like at federal level that I say, is the same thing that is applicable at other tiers or levels of government. The rent rate, for instance, is 0.78% for rents of about a month up to that of 7 years. But by the time you are rich enough to be able to pay huge rent, like maybe Amaka will do in Lagos, for a period of 7 years and up to 21 years, a period of more than 7 years and up to 21 years, the rate at both federal and state is 3% on that rent. The same thing applied to situations like probably somebody that has come, a foreign direct investor who has come to do business in Nigeria and eventually find a property in Ikoyi and feel, instead of constructing one, my project is likely to last for as long as 21 years. So he will pay his rent and pay stamp duty at 6%. So why do we have to say 3% and 6% for those that are investing or are paying long-term lease? Is simply because it will take them time to execute any agreement between them before they come back to us. So as a result of that, the stamp duty, which they ought to have been paying at 0.78% on a yearly basis, we decided to collect it upfront.
You seem to have moved ahead of us. Now, stamp duty on rent agreement, on lease agreement. Some have suggested that this can result in rent increase. Do you agree with them?
It is not possible. Just like I was showing you a document now, there is never a time in the history of this country that the payment of stamp duty has resulted in additional cost of rent. This is simply because if you are paying rent to Amaka as your landlady, the law did not insist that I should go and pay the money through for Amaka. What you are required to do by law is to go walk to the bank nearest to you to make the payment before you go back to Amaka to sign the contract and the tenancy agreement. Her own responsibility is to ensure that before she append her signature on that agreement, you are able to produce evidence of the stamp duty pay.
Like they say in Latin, tempus fugit. Because of time constraints, this illuminating interview with the tax czar in Nigeria continues next episode. Do well to join us next week on this same station, same day of the week and same time of the day. Don't forget to watch, like and follow us on our social media handles. Bye for now.